The reason I love Tower of God is the depth of the story, the intricacies of the universe, characters, and lore that the author has built up over the years. One of the core concepts that's structural to the story are the 10 great families. Today, I'm going to explain and analyze everything you need to know about them. Zahard is the king, and there are 10 great families who are aligned with him. Together, they make up the Zahard Empire. These families are formed by the 10 great warriors who entered the tower with Zahard tens of thousands of years ago. They're all members of the OG Zahard squad, and all 10 of them are absurdly strong. They represent the peak of what a high ranker is supposed to be. After Phantominum, Enryu, Zahard, and Urek Mazino, most of the top ranks belong to leaders of the 10 great families. For example, Arie Han of the Arie family holds the 5th rank. Kun Edwan of the Kun family holds the 6th rank. That's pretty dope, because as we know, Phantominum and Enryu aren't even active, which means that Arie Han and Kun Edwan are number 3 and 4 when it comes to the strongest active high rankers in the story. And of course, the others aren't far behind either. It doesn't matter which 2 of the 10 family heads fight, the battle is going to be extreme diff in the truest sense of the word. That's why the Zahard Empire has remained unchallenged for tens of thousands of years. Urek Mazino ranks higher than every single one of the family heads, but he doesn't have an empire like them. When you think about it, these guys may be inspired by the Greek mythology of the 12 Olympians. Especially because, as Guram Zahard said, there were originally 12 warriors that accompanied them, but 2 of them, V and Arlen, opposed Zahard and didn't become family heads. Now, just like how the 12 Olympians reside on Mount Olympus, the family heads reside at the top of the Zahard Empire, and more importantly, all 12 of them represent something different. For example, Zeus is associated with lightning, and Poseidon is the god of the sea. This analogy becomes even more credible when you realize that Siyu, the author himself, has stated that the head of the Kun family, Edwan, is based on Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy. That makes perfect sense because out of all of the family heads, Edwan is the most hedonist. He has a stupid number of wives, he enjoys wine, and puts pleasure above his own children. Now, we don't know enough about the other family heads to draw more comparisons with the 12 Olympians. But Yeon Yurang of the Yeon family could potentially be based on Hestia, the goddess of hearth, home, and domesticity. There are a lot of parallels between them. Both Yurang and Hestia are known for their warmth and protective nature. Both experience forms of isolation because their nature is different from that of their peers. Speaking of peers, the 10 great families are all aligned with the Zahard Empire, but they aren't really on the best terms. Which makes sense, because the families are like independent nations allied to Zahard, so of course, unless it's to their own benefit, they're not going to intervene or send help. Alright, next, let's talk about the families themselves. I'll talk about them in the order in which their family head ranks. Starting from Arie Han's family, we have the most powerful and renowned family. Their family head is the strongest, and they also boast the greatest territory of the 10 great families. They're one of the only families whose head is related to another family's head. In this case, the Arie and Ari families are related. Also, swordsmanship is the absolute signature of this family. They're known for their prowess with swords throughout the tower. It's so unbeatable that even Kun Ran's mother taught Ran to just withstand the attack of their swords if he ever encountered one, instead of trying to counterattack it. Moving on to the second one, we have of course the Kun family. This family is understandably quite big because Kun Edwan has the most wives out of all 10 heads. He also has too many children, which is why he came up with a test where only those who pass the test can be considered as true children. One of the protagonists, Kun Aguero Agnes, is Edwan's son, but not his true son. Overall, this family is pretty messed up. The competition between the children and the wives leads to severe scheming and manipulation. Everyone is after everyone, and Edwan himself can't be bothered to care. As for their signature fighting style, they use lightning and ice and specialize in spears. Edwan himself is considered the greatest spear bearer in the tower. Now, after Arie and Kun, we have the Ha family. It's led by Ha Yurin, who ranks number 10 in the tower. She's the first scout in the tower's history. Ha Yurin is also the only one of the family heads besides Arie Han and Kun Edwan to be in the top 10 high rankers. She's the great-grandma of our beloved Ha Yuri Zahard, but what's more interesting is that she's only ever given birth once. It was when she had twin daughters with the head of the Ari family. This also means that the Ha and Ari families are related because the twins were born from Ha Yurin and Ari Han. The Ha's are famous for their physical prowess and martial arts techniques. After them, we have the Tu Peri family at number 4. They're famous for light bearing, and their head, Tu Peri, is the first light bearer in the tower's history. He ranks at number 11, just one rank below Ha-Yuren. It's said that he has the eyes of God. Next is the Eurasia family, led by Eurasia Blossom, and they're masters of manipulating Shinsu. She's ranked 13th in the tower. The entire family loves sleeping. Same goes for Blossom. She's lazy and loves sleeping, and she's even been called out for it by the other heads. But she's given birth to a princess that ranks even higher than her. We're talking about Eurasia Zahard. She was ranked 7 in the tower, but was sealed away after she went berserk one time. Her father is Po Bidao Gustang, who is another head. Ultimately, the incident with Eurasia Zahard was so intense that the Eurasias have been against the Zahard princesses system since then. They've also forbidden marriages with the Po Bidao family. Speaking of them, they're up next. The Po Bidaos are all intellectuals and famous for their ability to manipulate Shinsu. Their leader, Po Bidao Gustang, ranks 14th in the tower, and right now, he's on the move with his family because Zahard has ordered the elimination of the entire Po Bidao clan. This happened after Gustang stole Zahard's bracelet. That's right, the Po Bidao family is currently at war with the Zahard Empire. It was Po Bidao Gustang who welcomed our boy Bam and called him the son of Arlen in chapter 257 of the second season. There's also a rumor that Gustang knows the way out of the tower. Moving on, we have the Hendo Lok family led by Hendo Lok Blood Matter. Now, Hendo Lok Blood Matter ranks 16 in the tower, and he's number 7 if we're talking only about all the heads. But his family is the weakest one of all 10, which is pretty ironic because his family has the highest number of children, even more than the Khun's. This is because Blood Matter was the only one out of the great warriors who wasn't granted immortality by the guardian of the 100th floor. Of course, he still wanted it, and so he made a pact which gave him eternal life, but in return, all his children are born with seriously short lifespans. It's so bad that most of the rankers from this family are actually adopted. Though, for what it's worth, they are known to have the strongest defense power thanks to their Shinsu resistance. At number 8, we got the Yeon family led by Yeon Yurang. She ranks number 17, so just one rank lower than Blood Matter, and she's the most beautiful out of all the heads. But the most interesting thing about her is that she is a maiden who's never slept with a man. Naturally, she's also never had a child, not even once. The thing about the Yeons is that this family has a godmother named Yeon Ilarde. We don't know if she's also an irregular who came to the tower with Yeon, but she's obviously extremely important because the entire Yeon family bloodline started from her. They are famous for their flame users and also for looking down on men. It's said that the daughters of the Yeon family are like flames itself. At number 9, we have the Ari family, led by Ari Han. Ari Han's rank as a high ranker is unknown, but he's the leader of the most well-connected family from among all 10. They're related to the Aries, which is the strongest family, and also to the Ha's, because everyone in the Ha family also shares Ari Han's blood. And the Ari family is also the only one out of the 10 to ever produce one of the 3 lords. It's said that the Ari family dislikes war, and they would do everything in their power to prevent it if they can. Unfortunately, they get dragged into the conflict between the twins of the Ha family often because of the blood relations. Now, finally, we have the Lopo Bia family, led by Lopo Bia Traumarai. While the Po Bidaos are at war with the Zahard Empire, the Lopo Bias can be considered the most loyal and supportive of the Zahard Empire. They're currently in open warfare with Po Bidao on behalf of the Zahard Empire. The family itself is known for being masters of anima, which is a power that allows one to subjugate and control other creatures to do their bidding. Traumarai himself is the strongest anima user in the tower. Ultimately, the strongest is the Arie family, while the weakest are the Hendo Loks. There's a lot of politics between the 10. For example, the Ha's and the Po Bidaos have forbidden marriages between them. The Po Bidaos and Lopo Bias are currently at open war with each other. And then there's the Ari family, who are pacifists that prefer diplomacy over war. The families have been around for far longer than even ancient nation-states like Egypt and China. It's gonna be surreal when Bam and the others bring down the Zahard Empire. What other Tower of God content do you guys want to see? Let me know in the comments below. I also explained and simplified the entire Tower of God universe here.